Hey guys, Brandon here. Gonna refurbish this 14 Pro Max front glass screen again. Customer sent us 4 phones. I'm gonna show this one. We've got 2 of them done already. This will be the 3rd, and I'll probably finish up in the morning because I've got something else to do. So I'll finish up his 4th phone tomorrow. Pretty small order. The reason we haven't made videos recently is because I got about 100 screens to refurbish, and I was very busy, had no time to create a video. I want to try to grow this channel, the refurbishing side of things. I know people are interested in this, especially shop owners, and customers can watch and say, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. Maybe I want to send him my phone and save hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So Wagner heat gun has been with me for 12 years. Unbelievable. Never quits working. I have 2 of them. They're both still work fine. Razor blade, 99% alcohol. Only use 99%. Do not use anything but 99%. If you use anything but 99%, you will destroy the phone. You can also use acetone, but I don't like it. The smell is awful. It makes me sick. It gives me headaches. The alcohol, I just kind of push my head back, and it doesn't smell near as bad. So once you put the razor blade in, make sure you're under the frame, kind of tilt it back and forth. The screen will, you'll hear a pop noise. The screen pops up a little bit. Then you can get under it with a tool. I like this little metal tool I have here. Make sure you're under the frame and you're not in between the frame and the screen. If you get in between the frame and the screen, you will have a line and you'll wonder what you did, and you can't even start refurbishing because your screen's already broken. So make sure you're under the frame and not in between the glass and the frame. That's the cause of the problems with shops opening these up that don't know that. Inexperienced techs. I've been doing this for over 12 years, about 12 and a half years. So I've got a little bit of experience opening these things up. And I've been refurbishing for quite a while. Refurbishing is basically brain surgery on the cell phone screen itself. So make sure you're under the frame there on the side. Lift as you go. You can also add a little bit of heat and alcohol. The 14 Pro Max is fairly straightforward to open. You want to do the same thing at the top, razor blade and some 99% alcohol. And just slip it in there, kind of just tilt it back and forth a little bit, and you'll feel it when it breaks loose. And then you can lift the screen out, and voila. You need to remove the plate and all the screws, which any shop should know how to do. Once this is out, I'm just showing it's good. No issues with the OLED. I don't think we've broken one, taken them out of the frame in, I don't even know, well over a year. I don't think I've had any issues whatsoever. Remove the plate, all the screws, and then the next step is obviously getting the glass off of the phone. So I start on a 14 Pro Max with wire the size as 0.02. And the reason I start with 0.02 is because it's very thin. And it is hard to go in, and it does break easy, but you don't damage the polarizer when you do that. I found that thicker wire damages the polarizer, and I never have good luck changing the polarizer on these things. It always destroys the screen. So we try to stay away from damaging the polarizer. That'd be your best bet. The polarizer is the thick. It's a layer that's in between. It's the top layer on the screen once you remove the glass. So that's the polarizer layer, which is why a thick wire would hit it. So you're going in between the frame and the glass here. So I press down when I first go in pretty hard because I don't want to hit the polarizer. This screen just being scratched makes life easy in refurbishing world. If it's very, very cracked, the more cracked they are, the harder they are to refurbish. So if they're really, really cracked, I try to use 0.02 all the way up. The wire does break a lot, but 0.02 wire is thin, and it's It's easier to not break the screen if it's really cracked. But I switched to 0.035 on this one because it was just scratched. So I got in with 0.02, I switched to 0.035. And now we are just going to go through 2 or 3 times once we get all the way through. And the screen will separate from the glass, which is nice. So you'll see that here in just a second. You'll feel it kind of just like break away once it is. You can just push the screen to the left or right and lift up on it. It'll come right up. Be careful with this one. The frame is pretty much completely separates on the 14 Pro Max. So we obviously replaced the frame, but it does pretty much separate very, very easily on this particular model. And the 14 Pro as well. This is the Pro Max though. So there we go. Separated. No polarizer damage, as you can see. Next step is going to be to clean this display. So I like to heat up my hot plate a little warmer. When I take the glass off, I have it at 99. Now, when I'm cleaning the OCA, I put it up to 110. I like it warm to do this part. And it's in a mold, so the screen doesn't really get that hot. It's not going to cause any damage. But the warmer it is, the easier the OCA comes off. And the faster the cleaning process goes. You want to hold down the edge of the screen as you're doing this. If you don't, I have had it nick the polarizer before and like pull it up around the edge. This is a spinning rod, spinning tool they call it, but I use it for iPhones, iPads, Samsung, pretty much anything that we refurbish. It helps get the OCA off. So getting the OCA off with this is quick. Takes maybe a minute or two. What takes longer is just basically shining up the OLED, getting rid of all the residue, little tiny marks. You have to be very, very thorough in cleaning. If you're not thorough, you will see any little mark under the glass that you leave. So if you leave a speck of dust, a speck of dirt, a speck of OCA, you will see it. It'll cause a bubble, and your customer will not be happy, especially if it's business to business. Your end consumer won't be happy either, but business to business people are more picky than traditional consumers. I've noticed. I do a huge amount of refurbishing, and definitely that is true. If you'd like me to do this to your phone, or you have a business and you want to outsource your refurbishing, we can definitely help you out. For business to business rates, just contact me. And for end consumer, we do these for $100, 12 through 14 Pro Max per screen. So that's, if you mail it to us, that covers priority mail shipping back to you. You do have to cover the shipping to us, but we can definitely help you out. And that's any model, iPhone 12 through 14 Pro Max, so 12 series, 13 series, or 14 series. 15 series, we charge $150. And that is, again, priority shipping back to you. Same thing. So that includes the 15, 15 Plus, 15 Pro, or Pro Max. To qualify for glass only, your OLED, the actual screen that shows your picture, cannot have any imperfections. No black spots, no lines. And it has to be an original display. It cannot be a aftermarket screen. You cannot refurbish an aftermarket screen. So if you've had your screen changed, if it's not the one that came with the phone, it's probably aftermarket unless you got it done at Apple Store. The nice thing about doing a repair like this is you do not get a display message. There's no foreign part message or any display message, because this is your original screen. You're getting your original screen back. This is your Apple screen. We are just changing the glass. We're using the same kind of glass Apple uses, and very strong frame. So I'm very thorough about the process. It's a very clean job. You will not even know the phone's Apple, or no one will know the phone's even been repaired. Very tedious on cleaning. Does take a while. You have to make sure there's no spots. I kind of can rub it off with my finger a little bit. I have a really good spotlight right above where I'm working, So it's also a magnifying light, so I can go from the side so I can see my entry points. Your entry points on this is key when you're taking the glass off. That's really the only time I ever have a mishap is the entry point. So if it's really cracked in the corner, it complicates things, and that's the only time we ever really have a break. Right now my break rate is about 1.5%, 2% maybe, something like that. So about 1 or 2 out of every 100. So it's pretty good, pretty solid. We rarely break one. I had a client send me 40-something screens, and I think we broke one, and it was really, really cracked. It was a difficult one, and it does happen. So not everything goes through perfectly. And obviously we replace that for the customer with a OEM refurbished screen if we damage anything. It's pretty rare, but we will replace it for you, obviously, if we damage it during this process. We're just getting rid of all the residue. It does take a while. It is tedious. I wouldn't get into this if you find this kind of stuff boring, because this is what you're going to be doing all day. I have spent hours and hours and hours and hours cleaning screens. I've had days where I've put in 14 hours straight and just done refurbishing for customers that send me boxes and boxes of phones. And B2Bs are welcome to send me an entire phone, or you can send just the screens. So either way. I do charge a little more if you send sealed up phones. And there we go. The screen's pretty clean. Now we're going to remove the frame, which is a very simple process with the 14 Pro Max. It basically falls off. You'll see I struggle with the top just for a minute, but I stick these little OCA plastic sheets. I save them, a few of them, to take frames off. So they are really nice to do that. Just some 99% alcohol, and I turn the hot plate down to 83, I think it is, 82 or 83. And I do that because the bare OLED is on the hot plate, and I don't want to put it at like 100. I don't want a burn mark or something. There's no glass protecting it right now like there would be when you're removing glass. The only spot on this 14 Pro Max this frame is really even attached. It's just at this top. So that's it. You'll see once I get this top piece, it pretty much almost falls off. And there, it kind of just came off there. It just fell right off. And I just slide it out. There's your frame. So now I put it back in the frame. This is a mold for guiding the glass on there, so it's like an alignment mold. I put it back in the frame. It's not attached to the frame with any glue or anything. I just put it in there for alignment purposes. You'll see once I get this clean, I attach the top glass, and I put one dot in the middle, and then I press it up, and the frame kind of just releases from the glass on this model. So go along the edge there. Make sure there's no spots, no lines, no dust. It needs to be very clean. The cleaner the better. They will hide it. Small imperfections, like if there's a tiny scratch on the polarizer, it's not a huge deal. The OCA will hide that. Plus it's a deep scratch, then you'll see it. But if the OLED's not damaged, I'll show the client, hey, your polarizer, your glass was so cracked that there's a tiny scratch on your polarizer, and they generally don't care because they're getting a heck of a deal. We do these very inexpensive compared to most places. When I quote, $100 and other shops are quoting $400, they drive an hour to come see me. Right now I'm going to get the 14 Pro Max glass. And one final clean there just to make sure. I always probably overdo it on the cleaning, but I never have dust. People do have like these clean room things I use, and I used to have one, but it's not really necessary if you're good at the cleaning and you have good lighting. So make sure your glass is in the frame here. There's little ridges on the side. Make sure you can feel all 4 of those ridges. Just make sure the glass fits in there tight. And if you can feel all those spots, it's in there. I kind of make sure, and then 1 dot in the middle. Push the screen out. The frame on this kind of just falls back, drops back into the frame there because it was not attached. So then we laminate it. Once it comes out of the laminator, it's pretty much ready to go, but I'd put it in the bubble remover just because there was no bubbles, because the YMJ does a fantastic job of removing them, and I did not laminate it with the frame, which makes it laminate perfectly. This is after it's out of the bubble machine. As you can see, it's absolutely perfect OLED. We take a frame and we put cold press glue around the very tip edge of it. There's like a black ridge, and you want to go with cold press glue around the edge there. You do not want to put cold press glue on the metal part of the frame. If you put it on the metal part of the frame, you will have bubbles and separation. Trust me, I know from experience, you will have bubbles and separation within just a few days to a week. Not every single time, but you will have a lot. I would say half of your screens will come back because you'll have bubbles. So just around the very tip edge, the little black ridge there on these frames, and that's it. So just go all the way around with this cold press glue. And you can get this cold press glue, the glass, and the frames from my contact in China. You can also get them from American suppliers. You're going to pay a lot more. Entire part cost of something like this is roughly probably $5, including, a little bit of glue, the frame, the glass, the wire, pretty much everything. But this is a very skilled labor. Not a lot of shops do this. I'd say maybe 1% of shops actually offer this to walk-in clients. Very, very few shops do this. It's kind of a specialty repair. They change out your whole OLED, so they change out the entire display versus just your top glass layer. They don't offer this kind of repair. We take mail-ins from all over the country. I've done stuff. I've had Canada mail me stuff. I've had every state mail me screens. Been doing this for many, many years. So we put this in the frame, and we just kind of press around, make sure it is in the frame properly. Definitely check the bottom, make sure it's flush. Sometimes you just need to pull down a little bit, make sure the frame's kind of exactly where it was prior, that it's in there good. And then I've got a mold, a clamp that we put this in. We take the screen and we put it in here and kind of press down the sides and the top to make sure the frame is perfectly on there. This kind of guides the frame. If it's off by a millimeter, it'll put it back perfect where it's supposed to be. And I do clean the glass here because the OCA kind of seeps around the edges sometimes and gets on the glass itself. And we do another cleaning at the very, very end. So, once I know it's in there good, then I put the top of the clamp on. And you want to let this dry for about 30 minutes. Check all the sides. It's good to go. And it's dry. And we are going to do one final test and then seal the screen up. As you can see, there's no display message. There would be if we had swapped the OLED. But it is perfect. Everything's working perfectly. No spots, no lines.